would like to make a couple comments? Okay, looks like we have none. Our topic today is discussion, review of the City of Shelbyville Municipal Code concerning building and codes. And we'll ask our director of that, Mr. Brian Stevens, to come forward, please. Start anywhere you would like, Brian.
Well, I appreciate all y'all coming out here today. I know it's everybody's got a busy schedule. Basically, what we're looking at here is going over some of our existing municipal codes, some of our property maintenance codes that have been adopted, and determining where we want to move from there.
Okay.
If you have questions about anything, feel free to speak up. I'm here to answer them. If I don't have an answer for you, I will tell you now, I will get it for you. Short, fast, in a hurry, but, to start out with, is there any questions y'all have for me beforehand? Or do we want to just dive right into the meat of the matter?
I would say unless somebody has a question on the council, does anybody have a question? We'll just move forward with your presentation, Brian.
Okay. Kate, if you would be so kind. We've tracked the last 4 years. We've been tracking it longer than that. I figured 4 years is far enough to go back. Especially if you look at some of the violations. We started with 2020 till current. If you'll notice, which is kind of hard to see from this angle, our workload is more than triple. We still get calls about tall grass, junk cars, a list of things, boating yards, things like that. A lot of this we can address. There's a lot of it we can't address as well. Can move along there just a hair, Kate. We still have issues with signs. We've simplified our sign code, but yet we still have issues with it. And we've had quite a few violations this year. We're hoping with the simplification of the sign code that we'll have some of this to be abated and we'll still move forward. But, thanks, Jake. It's a little hard to tell in here. The light blue moving to the right goes from 2020 to 2023. If you'll notice, our violations open, letters sent, site visits, and cases closed have all increased. And we're still not done with this year, so we're still on track to have quite a few more. Yes, ma'am.
Are you taking questions?
I will take questions at any point in time.
You can have that screen or maybe not, but let me look at that.
You look back up, please.
Okay, so you open your violation, your letter is sent. I can't see.
Site visit.
Visits.
We will visit the site at least twice.
What I don't understand is, what is your timeline between each of those events?
Okay.
You know.
This simplifies a little bit, but I'll break it down even a little more simply. If we got a call today, if we have the time to go out and investigate it today, we will do it today. By tomorrow, we'll have a letter written up and it'll be placed in the mail, outgoing mail tomorrow.
If you can find the owner,
Well,
etc.
we will base it off the Tennessee real estate data sheets from the state comptroller's website and the state comptroller's office. So this is a property owner. If the property owner is listed not at that address, we will reach out to the power company to see if there's a tenant there. Both parties will receive a letter. They have 10 days from that notice of violation to either correct the situation, contact us for a solution, or we will go out after that time and issue a court summons to municipal court.
Brian,
Yes.
can I just ask for clarification on something what we're referring to?
Sure.
When you're talking about the codes violation process right now, are you talking about property maintenance, trash, weeds, high grass? Or are you talking about something's wrong with a house and it needs to be repaired? Which one are you referring
Currently,
to?
this is tall grass, junk vehicles,
Yeah, okay, that's what you're
rubbish,
referring to as well?
brush.
Yeah. The reason I say that is because
Yeah,
Because when you're talking about a codes violation where somebody has actually got a real building codes violation on their house, it needs to be repaired. Or something needs to be come down. You normally give them more than 10 days to do that. That's why I brought that up when he was giving you the process. So I just wanted to make certain we're talking about the same kind of violation.
Yeah, this is anything non-housing related.
The truck is still in our neighborhood.
Getting called tomorrow, you know.
Thank you.
Yep. No, that's already on the schedule.
Now, what is it?
There's an abandoned vehicle on
Okay,
City
and that's a
lot.
different process too.
Yeah.
That's not the same process we're talking about.
we've already started that process.
So,
They may be similar, but you may have different laws that apply to different circumstances. Keep that in mind. There's different laws for different circumstances.
I understand that, but we need to tighten up this timeline thing. It seems like it's forever before this happens and then this happens and, you know,
It does seem that way, that everything property maintenance related as far as junk cars, trash, grass, things like that, the state requires me to give them a minimum of 10 days.
Once it's
Unfortunately,
served on them, and you
Yeah,
have to
once
give
it's
them a few
served.
days to get it, to make sure that it gets served, whether you do it by in-person process or whether you do it by mail.
and unfortunately, I can't speed that up. I wish I could, but my hands are tied on that one.
After you take them to court, I'm just asking what happened.
Uh, If we're taking to court, it'll be up to the judge to decide. We've had things just from, he's given them 7 to 10 days to clean it up, 30 days to clean it up, 60 days to clean it up. And I say clean it up, I should say abate the violation. And then sometimes it's, a fine's been levied if they don't do it to them time frame.
Well, you know, over on, I don't call the person's name, East Cedar Street, you know what I'm talking about?
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's terrible, and it's been like that for years.
how long has that been
So,
like that?
that's my question. I mean,
What's
so
going on with that house?
Well, it's an abandoned house with cars, trucks, refrigerators, washers, dryers,
He's running around, so.
everything else. I mean,
Can't you catch him?
We tried.
and then he's
And
a
we're still
another,
trying.
and he was driving a blue car, he parked his
Parked
blue car
it.
in the yard, and then took another car, but it, you know, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
cause, I mean, I'm not saying you're not doing your job, I just want what the process is, but it's been like that for a long time.
The downfall to it is, and I know there's been some changes in that particular lot as well, is every time they bring something in new, that's a new violation, so a clock starts on that one separately. And it's unfortunate, but that's the policy that's in place.
So what's the process, I guess, to get him to do something?
The
I
only
mean, he's
thing,
not even making an effort.
the only thing I can do right now is cite him to municipal court, and it's up to John, if it's John T. or if it's, somebody else to determine that fate. The only other way to do it, in my opinion, and Ginger, if you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, is we'll actually have to take them, we'll have to sue them to get it done, basically.
Well, tell me exactly who we're talking about, where we're talking.
Jerry Greer's property on East Cedar Street.
East Cedar, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are the violations that we have?
Everything,
Junk
Junk
right
cars,
by there.
rubbish,
A to Z.
Oh, wait a minute, I think I got it.
Okay,
junk cars, rubbish, trash,
And you would-
high grass.
okay, so those are two different types of violations.
White Street.
One would be the trash and the trash and the grass are one thing that you deal with. The trucks are something else. If they're truly abandoned, are they not tagged?
Oh, my goodness.
Are they tagged, do you know?
I have not gone out there personally look at it, but, some of them are tagged, some of them are not.
You got pictures?
I'm trying to find my thing.
Okay.
There's a problem. That's what you just said.
What?
You haven't gone out there and seen it, but you just finished saying that every time you go by there, there's a different violation, a new violation, whatever. How is this being documented when somebody goes by there? You just said you didn't go by there.
My inspectors go by there,
Well, who documents it? There
my
ought to be-
inspector when they go by.
So there's a
When
document
they
of
go-
whether that vehicle's sitting there and what its license plate is somewhere.
We don't record the license plate.
It sounds like you're not doing your job. I know codes is pure hell. It's the worst job in city Shelby, I guarantee it. But at the same time, there's gotta be a way to document these things. I've sat here for 12 years. No, yeah, going on 11 years anyway. This round, in the previous round, it's always, well, I can't find it. Well, it's like the thing on White Street. Well, it's a property, the property owner versus the tenant. Hell, that place, it's got cars and vehicles on it as old as me.
Yeah.
And I guarantee they're not licensed in golf carts and junk.
You
And all that time, we have done nothing except watch more junk pile up. And same thing with Jerry Green. He's a friend of mine.
They said that's
Dang,
long,
Joe.
Henry, that they turn black. The
Yes.
soot and the tree sap, and they're still there.
And if I'm in codes and I'm gung ho about cleaning up, I'm gonna be documenting the hell out of that. I'm gonna make that my project.
Scott's
And
got.
all of a sudden, we sit here and we come up with excuses. Well, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
You personally should have been, in the length of time that this has been on the table, you should have gone out there. Don't leave it to somebody that's here today and gone tomorrow, and we fired that one because he wasn't doing his job. We got somebody else.
Perhaps that might be the problem, which I was hoping to jump in at some point, because to my understanding, is there, a deficiency in your staff? I understand some went to, or promoted to inspectors, which leaves a question in my mind, who is out at each of these wards? And I was under the impression there was a person out at each ward,
I have
pretty much
two-
a daily
I have
basis.
2 inspectors, one started yesterday, he's going through training now. The other one's been with me for about almost 2 years now. He handles everything south of Madison Street, the other one's gonna handle everything north of Madison Street.
So you have two out
I
there.
have 2 out, well, I will have 2 out there.
Is
I
that
have one being
sufficient?
trained.
How many would you need? I'm just being honest. I mean,
If you compare our department in the city side, population size to some of the others, and I'm not gonna go into any particular city like that, the average staff is 4 inspectors. The average staff. Some have more, some may have less, some may have open positions.
we just got two.
We have 2.
So you call them inspectors, those that are out on the street looking for violations?
Yes,
When, in my mind, the inspectors were, as you do on a daily basis with the new rooftops.
yeah,
And
no, these
inspecting the
are
homes.
codes inspectors, not building inspectors. They are certified, or they are expected to be certified in residential construction, but
You're the only building inspector we have in the city.
I am.
Do we not need to know?
I believe we need 2 or 3 more, actually.
That's what I'm gonna ask you.
I thought
Did you ever ask
I thought the other guy was, when I talked to Scott 3 or 4 weeks ago, that you and, the other fellow were busy full-time doing inspections.
I do all the building inspections, he does all the code
Oh
inspections.
my gosh.
He does codes.
He does codes.
He should be the one out there riding the roads.
He is the one out there riding.
He's the one responsible then for what we
Right.
find is not fixed.
Yeah, but one person can't do it.
It's not me, it's the staff.
Yeah, one
Well,
person.
what, and you have a lady, why did she not go out and ride either?
No, sir, she's my office administrator. She handles building permit issues, things like that.
Well, y'all really only have one person riding the whole thing.
Currently, but I have one in training.
One person.
You sound like
There's the
staff
problem,
to me.
that's one of the problems.
You know, but
Can't
even
get one
then,
street.
I mean, Quarry Street, for instance, if you go out that house in the corner of Quarry Street, you got 3 more
Yeah.
halfway
Yeah.
up to the top side. I mean, there's code violations all over, and they've been that way for months.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's, you finally got the grass mowed, they finally rode the mat off of, what's it, where was it, Scott? I told-
Off Dover.
It's off Dover,
I can't
that road,
remember
right,
the
the
name of
grass,
the
but the grass was this high, I swear it was this high.
Parker Road,
Yeah, Parker Road, it was this, so, and it didn't grow that way in 2 months or 3 months, I mean, I honestly swear it wasn't it, Scott, it was this high. I'm sure, what did they do, did y'all use a bulldozer, did y'all mow it, or did the people get it mowed?
that's one of the abatements.
Y'all have to use a bush hog or something?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, but this is something that shouldn't have been, and I brought it to Scott's attention, Scott brought it to your attention, you must have taken it to,
I carried it to my inspector that day.
and so he went out there, but
In all fairness, Mr. Chris,
had I not said anything to Scott,
It's still been like that.
the grass would still be growing.
yeah, but all
He must not have ridden
fairness,
down that road.
But I'm like Henry, there should be a check and balance, and Scott's got the answer to it. I hope we got it in front of him. If a person calls in today and there's a problem, it should be date, not date, location, date, action taken, and initials of somebody in this code department, and that should be when it occurs, then we know what's going, that right there, that's beautiful, that's pretty, but that's not telling me what's being happened, what's going on.
well, let me ask the question. Okay, you got White Street, East Cedar Street,
Davis,
where y'all just finished. So if you get 10 calls in a day, that's one person.
I mean,
I'm just asking, things
don't care, but have a record, I mean, I can't.
I understand about the record, that's what I'm saying, do need to keep a record, but what I'm
We
saying
need more
is,
staff.
yeah.
How many have we taken all the way to the point where we've got them in court and we're ready to tear the house down? Are there any that way?
Not yet.
Oh,
It seems like there would at least be
I know
one
it's not.
somewhere in the process
There is one in the process right now.
out of all 5,000 houses or whatever we have, or not all of them are violations, but out of that many violations, there's gotta be some that are just being torn down.
This isn't housing.
Other
This
cities
is
tell me
just-
that they're tearing them down right and left and
These,
clearing the properties and getting stuff done, so our system is broken.
these violations do not include housing. This is strictly tall grass, junk cars, stagnant water, fences, exterior structure.
Cars and junk like
Yeah,
that.
this is not housing.
Like condemning houses and stuff like that, that to me ought to be, when it's that junky, there's gotta be a house in the middle of that, it's not worth living in.
He just gotta build his playhouse up.
Okay, there's
Okay.
a couple of points, if I may. Number one, the UTAS study that they're going to do for administration of finance and others, they're also going to do it with planning, building and codes. And we know there's a deficiency. As the director spoke earlier, most cities of our size definitely has multiple property maintenance inspectors, and they have multiple building inspectors. Right now, Director Stevens is handling all of the new roofs, as you stated earlier, Councilwoman. And today in our staff meeting, we was discussing going through the planning commission process out on Union Street, 700 homes are getting ready to come on board. And on the other side of Union Street, another 200. And guess who is going to be charged with inspecting them if it happened today? So we're trying to get the information to the city council so y'all can make an informed decision. We're not making excuses. And we are trying, we've been stepping up. Someone mentioned condemnation proceedings. We posted a house in May and we're getting ready to move, put it on the ground. You all budgeted, was it $30,000, and we're going to start as it works through the legal process. There's another home that's also getting ready to go into the process. I believe that may be in Ward 1.
They started the process last week.
But I just want to bring a couple of things to your all's attention. You're going to get a lot of information provided to you by January about our staffing issues. But at the same time, we're going to keep pushing as hard as we can to address these in a timely manner through the proper legal process.
Well, you know, I've been here going on 9 years, and we've had 2 or 3 of these study things, and the end result, most of them, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing. But, I don't get, they come in, they're from out of town, they look around, they write up the same thing that's in the other campus, use the same stuff. And the ones I've seen, I've not gained. I just say, just like I told you 3 weeks ago, Scott, you said that good people are busy doing inspections. Well, if they're busy doing inspections, let them be hire somebody to do the codes. I mean, fix it, just fix the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the man.
Never should've got into this.
That's your job, fix it.
Never should have got here.
Sir, I understand my job.
And I'm not gonna be hateful at you, but I'm.
Until the money is budgeted, I cannot hire a position that's not been approved by this board. I wanna make that
You can
very
come
clear.
before us whenever you want to and ask for it.
Yes, sir, and that's the reason we're getting the MTS study, so we can have documentation and a clear direction. We want to have a plan instead of just willy-nilly going out here and hiring somebody.
Well, I mean, surely you know whether we need one or not, inspections as far as, this survey and all this, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't care whether it's documented or not, if you come before the council, say, hey, we need this, because this and this, To me, that, I'd rather have that than I had some paper, 4, 5, 6 pages of paperwork that some out of towner brought in here and did. I'd much rather have you just come and say, I need to hire such and so.
Yes, sir. And it'll be on the agenda as I spoke to you all, Monday. We're bringing the need for 3 more firemen. We can also bring without any, we'll just bring a couple more inspectors. Cause we just went through a good interview process. Do you have
We
at
did.
least 2 more?
I have one more at least.
We'll add that to the November agenda.
Yes.
I guess I just want to get, a feel for what is council's number one priority. Henry was talking about houses. You all seem to be talking about the condition of yards. What is the council's number one priority? Because those are 2 separate different things. And if we can take that, you need 2 separate processes to keep up with those.
Cleanliness, community-wide, for your neighbor to be happy, satisfied to live in a community, in a neighborhood. All of these people we're wanting to attract here with all these things going on, clean it up, you know.
Primarily, do you hear grass, trash, the condition of the house?
All of the above.
All the above.
And cars and yards.
It costs me the cars.
In a boat, I got a boat in the yard.
Oh,
You
see,
can't do anything
And
about
that's a
it.
different
I can
type of
address the boats.
violation.
Can't do anything about the boats. There's been
Yeah.
4 boats lined up to go across from Walmart.
Not even know.
2 houses down, across the street. 4 boats lined up, I know for 8 years.
yeah, we don't have an
The
ordinance.
grass
for
and
that.
trash is set, we primarily follow state code. There's one state law that really gives us a hammer, if you want to say, on grass. But that's the one, it has to get up to 8 inches, isn't that our standard?
Yeah.
Once it's up to 8 inches, then he can, as the inspector, send the owner. And so you gotta go make sure you know who the owner is. You've gotta check not only Rhonda's office, but you gotta check to see if the deed has been filed since that time. Because Rhonda's office is only good for 1 year. As soon as that thing's filed January 1st, you've gotta go see if there's someone else. And if there is a mortgage on the home, you have to also give them notice. So there's some legal process that you have to do there. He has to make certain he gets that done, sends those notices.
He doesn't have time to
So
do
is
that.
that system in place now?
Oh, I don't know if they're doing it or not, but that's what I'm telling you. That is what has to be done. Somebody in the codes office has to do that. Then you got 10 days.
Look, that was a long list of stuff that you just mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
He doesn't have time to do that.
Somebody in his office has to do
He
it.
doesn't have anybody in there.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to say in fairness to Brian. If Brian and the other fella have got a full-time job just inspecting new homes, well, let them do that and get some people just to do codes. I mean, we're gonna have to do that. I mean, if Brian doesn't have time to do it, then he shouldn't be held responsible for it. If you're busy just inspecting houses, new houses.
No, it's
And you
not.
all may be very right. They need that, but I just wanted for you to explain. I have in my tenure here, I've had several of those meetings. You've sat in on them, you've sat in on them. It seems like with every new version of a council I get, I have to sit and explain the intricacies of codes. And you all very well know, you can't just walk on somebody's property and do something with it. We have the United States Constitution, and it takes quite a few checks that you've got to do, and it takes time. So technically, about the fastest you can get somebody's yard mowed would be 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. By the time you do the checking work, by the time you get the letter done, mailed to them, you got to give them 10 days, and you hope they don't appeal it. They do have the ability to appeal it. And so when somebody's got to be checking that all the time, then once that 10 days is passed, they got to go back out and visit the site. Then they got to come in, then they got to get Buck. Buck's got to schedule it. So it's sometimes 2 weeks.
Actually, there's a step in between there. We have to write the abatement letter up. It has to go to Lisa to be recorded. It goes from there to Scott for approval, and then it goes from Scott to Public Works.
Yeah, you do that first that he does
So
that.
He
it's a
got
long
more people to
process.
do all that.
It kills a day in City Hall.
just to do that.
moving around from
Just for,
Brian bringing it to me and me getting Scott to sign it.
And that's
Then
just
getting to
trash.
Buck, and then by the time
That's
Buck
just
gets
trash
it,
and
you
grass.
gotta go schedule
That's
it.
the only trash and grass process. We're not talking about these other ones.
Is there any way that we as a council can change or add things, any way to make it any better?
I have sat in so many meetings and I've said it over and over. The only way you clean up a city is throw money at it. You have to build a department and it takes money and it takes people to do it. And then the process, some of these other processes, when you're talking about taking houses down, you eventually will probably get to me then, that I have to get involved. A lot of this stuff, I don't have to be involved at all.
No.
But it takes a lot of people, a lot of time. And so that's why you see, it could be 4 weeks before something gets done. And so it is tall. It is high.
Have you ever asked for help? Have you ever, before I got here, I'm just asking,
I have in the past.
and what were you told?
The short answer, is no.
Oh,
The longer answer, take it out of your budget. They're not gonna approve that.
On people with the environment.
I've been here 6 years. I finally got approval to hire a second inspector 3 years ago.
And everybody in the city says it's getting worse.
And we're growing.
That's all I hear.
We'll never fix it.
Trash, dirty, nasty cars, that's all I hear. You can't go to Walmart out here.
If you want to stay on top of it, I think you need 6 people just to do this.
Well, there you go.
6.
well, we need to still send your, we need to get him help.
Ideally, if you were to set it up that way, you would want one person for each ward. And that would be their territory only.
I had
Yeah.
2 calls, well, it's
It's just,
One for two.
yeah, I mean,
just yesterday, back to back, with 2 calls.
and like Henry said, there's no accountability. That right there, those little pretty grass and stuff, but Scott's got the answer to that. I think Scott's come up with a good form that we can track it, tell what's going on. You know, what action, where we're at, what the dates are, you know, who's doing.
You can, but it doesn't mean it will speed.
No, I'm not saying speed it up, at least we know what's going on. At least we know what's going on. Give us an idea.
To build, to better assist me on that, what information are you looking for in that report?
Well, the Scott's got the phone. It's a form. Every time someone calls in here, there'll be information recorded. Date, who got it, action taken, and somebody's gonna sign off on it.
But once you go to court, I guess I'm not trying to figure out who's, okay, you done took them to court. So it's in the court's hands.
Well,
Okay,
depending on what you're talking about. Now, this process right here, on grass, mainly, we can fix it ourselves. You usually don't, I don't know if he takes them to court. He can, he doesn't have to. Process of grass gives us the ability under state law to go on the property and cut the grass ourselves. And then once it reaches up to over $500, we can put a lien on the property. That is the only thing that's said in state law that I can put a lien on the property, or the city puts a lien on the property in Johnny Reed's office. And then we can go through the process of delinquent taxes and try to collect that money. Now, I'll tell you, we've never been able to really collect on that because most of those places are not worth it to begin with,
right.
usually.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the grass, I'm talking about, the junk stuff.
Yeah.
And you citate them, then from the citation, you said, what's the next step? But do it one more time just for me, The step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
On the cards, it would
Yes.
be a matter of basically having to get Ginger involved because we can't seize a vehicle off private property.
We can't seize the vehicle. He can take him to court. He can show the judge in municipal court. Or, I mean, if we wanted to, we could go to general sessions court, but that starts taking money. General sessions will give us a little bit more power. We go into municipal court, the judge can find a violation. He normally does. The main goal, and the city has said this for years before I even became city attorney, is that the goal of municipal court is not really to punish people, it's to serve as a means of enforcement. Just get it cleaned up, just get it moved, just get it done. And so the judge will often use the threat of the fines to get them to move. He'll find that there's a violation and he'll say, okay, you got 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, whatever, to fix this. And so that's normally what happens. And I would say in most cases, when you go to court, generally people fix it.
They generally got it fixed before we get there.
They generally get it fixed. If they don't do it though, the judge has no power in municipal court to force them to do it. Zero. All he has is the power to fine them. And it's $50 a day per violation. And as I've said this before, there's no automatic way to collect that money. We can send them a letter all day long. But if we truly say somebody wound up getting assessed $5,000, all the city could do to try to get that money is either turn it over to a collection agency or have me sue them on a personal debt. In other words, there's no power in municipal court to make them move that if you have the threat of the fine. If you really wanted it moved, you want the power of a court order, then I would have to file a lawsuit in a real court of law, a court of record, General Sessions Court or civil court. And that's why I've always said it takes money. And you get up to somebody like that who really won't do anything, you have to go sue them in court, and you get an order from somebody like Judge Burke or Judge Cox, and then you've got an order that can be enforced against somebody.
Okay.
And part of that process, can you get your court costs of you paying you and us having our expenses of suing them to get them to move that car? If it costs us $2,000 or $3,000, can that be tacked on to that property owner is then enforceable, as you say, a court of record to force us to get our money back?
We would certainly ask for that, yes. We would certainly ask for it. It depend on,
I know we're gonna
what-
ask for it, but can it be done?
it
Can they
depends
be
on,
forced to pay us?
it would depend on what code you used, what violation it was, and if that code said those costs could be collected.
That sounds like you're still back on the iffy ground as to whether you can even make a move it to begin with.
No,
You can't get your court costs back. If your own costs can't be reimbursed, how can that court of record force you to move that car?
Well, it's, once again, court costs can be, yes, but attorney fees, that's a different thing. Court costs is one thing, attorney fees is something different. You know that in general, unless a contract says you don't normally can just pick up somebody else's attorney fees. So that's what I'm saying about the particular code section that you're saying they violated, whatever code you're going under. If it says and gives the party, the government, the right to collect all costs, fees associated with it, then you might be able to, in court, recover that as well.
And how do you deal with a Todd Smith? I mean, I'm just wondering what I read. And then that home on Wade Drive, that's a beautiful home. And you got like you have a yard set in the front. And then there's rack. Then you go around the back, he's got a boat with just stuff, and then I read where you gone after him. He refused to accept the letters that comes to everybody. So how do you deal with something? I mean, what do you do? That's what I'm asking. We here today trying to figure out something. But when you can't chase him. And it's not, that's what to me.
Sounds like
We
you go to
can't.
General Sessions Court and get a real judgment against
That property.
You can do that, you could get him served. I mean, we can get our police, go get him served with whatever letter you want.
But reading all
You
this
just have to
property,
have somebody be on it.
my understanding, all his properties like that. And they've been trying to get after him. It's like you're chasing him.
I'm listening and I want, I get calls since I've taken office of all kinds of different things. I just got one while ago, told Brian about it, and we're aware of it. The thing on White Street, I had gotten calls about that myself. That's been happening for years. Why has nothing been done? Did the court say that they wouldn't do something, or have you gotten involved in that thing on?
Junk.
sofas, cars.
Alrighty.
You can't hardly see the house, and there's no need of grass violation. There's nothing to grow up.
There's no grass.
The grass has to grow up through all the junk.
The one I'm talking about is at the end of White Street where you go across the what we call the Lynchburg Highway.
Oh, that's.
And that's on the right-hand side, and I have been told by codes that they had been, I guess, contacted, and then somebody had asked about doing business without a license for the state of Tennessee. Has anything happened on that particular one?
All we can do on that is report it to Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance.
And you haven't heard anything?
I ain't heard anything
Car
about it.
repair comes out of there.
You know what I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about?
Every day.
Yeah.
So that's a different property than the
Yeah.
400 White
That's-
Street?
So it's actually on Kingsley Road.
And so then what do they do on this property?
Yeah.
Well, they're working on vehicles, and they've got junk vehicles there. Do you guys know where I'm talking about?
You can't mess with it. We've taken them to court. They asked for a time frame to clean everything up. We're gonna have to take them back to municipal court.
So you have taken them?
Yes.
Is there anything, and I'm just thinking here, is there anything that we can do from a public relations standpoint or from some kind of, something in the newspaper, social media or something that we can ask the people to do these things that we're asking them to do without, and tell them there would be, I guess that little threat that there would be court fines and things like that, but we're just asking the people to clean up. Have we ever done anything like that we've sent out, asking the people to do that?
Sit around like this and have a bench session every few years. That's about it.
Yeah.
I'm open to
And that's why
exploring
the
that.
system, there's no record to follow up on, so we reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Every few years and say,
Yeah.
you know, how many times is that place on Kingery Road? It's been several years ago.
Yes.
They cleaned it up a little bit and that's it. They actually had people living in some of the trailers there, and I'm not sure if they're not still there. They're pretty
That's
slick.
what I'm
but I
hearing.
can't
That's what I'm
see
hearing.
'em,
I'm just trying to, and I see where there's all kinds of different issues, and all of us get those calls, and I think what Bobby's saying and what Scott's working on that form, we need some kind of record. So that we'll know when it was done.
You can look at what,
Yeah,
find it
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick, but
If I may,
And I've had some cases where I had one where the grass was about 24 to 30 inches high. And I called down here and Debbie gave me the name of the company out of Nolensville, Tennessee that owned it. In 2 days, it was mowed.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen all over the place.
No.
And Buck has to get involved, I guess, in mowing. And are we charging about $10,000 a lot?
It's cheaper,
to be honest with you,
cheaper for us to go mow it for them than for them to hire somebody.
we need to go for the price.
Do we need to
Yeah.
increase that? Would that,
I have looked at doing it third party, so it did not
yes, sir?
involve Public Works, that we hire, put out for bid a landscape service or something. Whenever these came up, we had them do it. I guarantee you those prices would be higher. Because when you go in, when the grass is this tall, you don't know what's underneath. And the things that you hit with your mowers and everything else, it's a mess.
That's
Yeah.
We're allowed to
But we
charge,
can add administrative fees.
we are allowed to charge reasonable costs in our geographic area. And so we've actually talked about that this year, that we probably need to go up on that cost, and it probably would be great to hire it out.
Yeah, and liability, I was concerned about that. I mean, if you go out there and do mow it and a rock flies out from the beat, from the mower, or, you know, something happens, where we are in those situations. We've got to do something to clean up Shelbyville. I'll be glad to go on Shelbyville Now or something like that and ask the people to do that, just for the sake of trying to help being a neighbor and things like that. Now, it may not do any good, but I'll be glad to go out there and say, folks, we need to clean up our yards. If you've got a junk car in there and it's not, how do we get it moved? Do they have to pay a tow truck or something? And then where does it go?
most of them junkyard. That's where they need to go.
So,
The problem we find on some of these though, and I'm not trying to make an excuse on this one, but this is one I hear all the time. Well, that was my daddy's car. That was my daddy's car. We were
Right.
fixing that up.
that's right.
Sentimental value.
Yeah, I can
It's
see,
a sentimental
I'm
value.
hearing all that. People are calling me and telling me those kind of things, and then I'm passing them on to Scott, and it's getting down to you, Brian. I've talked to you folks too.
What
But
is
we've
our-
got to do something. We've got to do something.
Well,
Because there's people living there and they're trying to take care of their property and they're doing a good job
Mm-hmm.
taking care of it. And then next door, they got somebody that really doesn't care.
Yeah.
And
It's not fair.
it does decrease the value of their property. It probably affects their living conditions if there's noise involved and stuff like that. And if it's trash involved, there's probably some kind of a health hazard there. If they've got, I've seen it in the county and where they have it in the back of trucks and stuff. People are just taking their garbage and sticking it in the back of an old pickup truck sitting in the yard. Do we have that in town too?
That can be declared public nuisance. One question I'd like to ask, for an example, under the state law, let's say we go mow we have to abate a property. We go mow it. The fee from a third-party contractor is $400. We tack on a $100 administrative fee,
Mhm.
which hits the magic number of 500. We file a lien against that property. And this is the question for the city attorney. When property taxes are due February 28th, if they've not paid the lien, does that initiate the selling them at the courthouse?
Yes, I would have to go through that, but you'd have to remember that the state taxes, the taxes come first. Whether or not we'd ever be able to sell it, depending on type of property it is, but hopefully if it's good enough property, somebody can come in and pay. But it takes, that's a 2-year process.
Could we not attach it to their property tax bill every year?
No, sir.
Can't do it.
No, sir. That's not provided for in state law.
So
So-
you're saying if they pay their property taxes, but just don't pay the assessment against it, we can turn around and get a.
I would have
Sell the property?
No, I would have to file a lawsuit and to attempt to enforce that through an execution, yes.
That'd get their attention.
When you go out and you find something, you send a letter, right?
Correct.
Okay. And we hope that they receive that letter. Or do you get response back from the letter? It just says 10 days, we'd like you to do within 10 days. And then you go back and have to look at it in 10 days. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what Albert and Brad have told me
We
before.
do get some.
That's the way it works,
Yeah,
correct?
We do get some responses
Okay.
from people, most of them are, well, I wasn't aware of that, and they take care of it. We
Okay.
do get some that, the answer is, it's my yard, it's my right, and you can just,
Oh, okay.
whatever.
Yeah. I had some of them on the phone, yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of, we get a lot of those when they want to argue with us about it.
Pay to play.
Okay, so after that 10 days, that's when
That's when we look at municipal enforcement.
That's right.
We cite
and
those
it goes
down.
before John T., our city judge first, right?
No,
No,
It does not?
no, that's not a court process.
no,
It
that's
does
just
not.
municipal court.
Okay,
No, it's not a court process at all. Under your, mowing the grass,
well, I'm talking about the cars and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Or is that's two different things you're saying? Grass and trash is one thing and vehicles is another.
We'll cite them.
I've got you. But John T., if it goes to city court, it's not grass and trash, it's vehicles and,
no, you're normally not gonna take your grass. You can just go out and cut the grass. Be done with it.
But we can't touch all those cars done turned black and soot,
Well-
and the tag, expired license plates, obviously it's sitting there. It's either don't have a tag or it's expired and it's black from soot.
Well, you can't-
and that's the one that goes before John T. Do you folks handle that? Whether it goes to the court or John T. would have to, or the city, let's just say, let's not use his name, the city judge would have to give a notice on that they have 30 days to
We
move
have-
that vehicle or,
Yes, we have taken to court, and more often than not, they do move it, then we do have a few that refuse.
okay. Do you have
And then-
success with that?
It's limited, but yes.
Okay. And they move the vehicle or,
More often than not, they didn't realize they couldn't leave it right there, and they'll move it in the backyard, or they'll move it in the garage, or they get rid of it.
okay,
So you usually have success with taking them in.
okay,
Yeah.
Most people do comply once they
The
get
ones
into
that have
municipal court.
multiple cars, usually
Yes.
they will not comply.
okay.
And so what have you done with those? I guess that's the big question at that point. Then there needs to be further action, further legal action, but that's gonna take, as long as y'all are aware of it, it takes money to do it.
So these forms we're talking about, that you go and you'll have the date that it's reported and the date that you visited there and the initials and things like that. And you'll go back 10 days for trash and grass, I guess is what I'm saying.
We go back 10 days to
And-
follow up with
All right,
those.
and then if it's an abandoned vehicle or a vehicle that needs to be moved, you go back in 10 days too?
Correct.
Okay, and then at that point, if it's not moved in 10 days for grass and trash, then you have to go through the process of Lisa and Scott, and it goes to Buck about trying to get it mowed?
Yes.
Okay, but on vehicles, I'm just trying to get this straight in my mind, on vehicles and things like that, it would go from the 10-day period?
We try to get enforcement through the municipal court to get them to move it,
Okay,
but if they don't, I'm gonna have to go
Oh,
to
okay.
judge for,
And then that's when it goes to city court?
well,
No.
no.
Real court if you come to me.
Yep.
I'd have to file a lawsuit.
Who created all those steps?
State legislation.
States.
That's a state law.
States.
I can't do anything about that.
That's a state law.
So it's obviously,
You have to understand this again, as people.
Yeah.
it's obviously needs help, so what are we gonna do about that? We sit here, I'm like.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be tacky, but, and I'm not gonna use that word you use, even though I have used it in the past. We sitting here doing all this BSing. We need to fix the problem. It's obviously needs help.
Million power.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so here we go. How are we gonna get that? What are we doing?
On the November agenda, I've already texted Kay. She's running the numbers to hire 2 additional property maintenance inspectors. And so that'll be a decision for the council in November. And if you all approve it on November 9th, we'll start the interviewing process on November 10th.
Then one more question, and I'm.
Okay, go ahead.
When will it be feasible for each ward to have their own? That way, when I say own, I'm talking about, say for instance, when Ward 1, he helped staff to go, blah, blah, are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Like having an inspector for
We
each.
agree more.
So when would that be? I'm just saying.
I mean, that's a budget item,
Yeah, I know that is,
That
but
would, you would have to
Yeah.
have 6.
Right.
6 total.
If we find money for other stuff, then we can find money for this. It's a necessity.
It's council's priorities. Whatever y'all prioritize, we'll do.
I don't know
So,
why I never.
so what we're saying is 2 more folks to go out and inspect for this, code violations and things. But how are we gonna help Brian if he's got all these houses that he is the only inspector, right?
Currently, I have 2 that are in training right now. One is attempting to get certified, the other one will be shortly. I just gotta get them trained in the property maintenance side.
How long does that take? What does that turn around?
2 years.
They
have
won't
2
be,
years to get certified.
but will they won't be on site doing anything for 2
I
years?
can use them for 1 year as a supervised inspector, which means I'll have to be on site with them.
Not helping.
No,
Uh-uh.
Now, do you have to go out multiple times, one property, a new home that's being built, do you have to go out multiple times like the electrical inspector used to have to do with Duck River? He had to go out and do a rough end and he had to go out and do a final inspection at the end. Is that the way you do it?
we're required to do a foundation inspection or a foot inspection, a foundation, top seal, green board inspection, floor joists are included, framing, plumbing, mechanical after that, then insulation and final
Good grief.
So you've got 4 or 5 visits to that
There's
one
5 steps.
house?
for one house.
Golly.
But that's spread out over several months.
But yeah, you don't know what.
Each one of those visits, we get a fee for
That's what the building permit fee covers.
That's what, the permit pays for that, okay.
Yes.
But that would be hiring, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I mean, he's got
That would be
people that's
hiring.
training, but the way to fix that is hire somebody that's already certified.
So do we need to increase the permit fee
That is entirely up to y'all.
to pay for these extra employees?
We can explore that, yes.
Just wait for them to follow when you do it. You just gotta be prepared.
Well, the county certainly seems to have a great big enforcement department of codes and vehicles sitting everywhere, so I don't know what are their fees? They've got to
Amy
be
has-
driving some.
Amy's a building official and she has 1 inspector. But the county did not adopt the property maintenance code, so You can junk it up, let the grass get as tall as you want, park
They
all
don't care about,
cars
they
you want.
don't care about grass.
Our
Oh, they care about
care of
Yeah,
his salary and the vehicle and all of those kind of things.
I
Don't know.
without research.
So we
Our
need a
current
cost
bill-
study on that to,
our current,
internally, we don't need to hire somebody outside, but we need to know, are we covering our costs right now? And do we need to increase it?
our current building fees more than cover our department's
Okay.
expenses,
Okay,
including salary and everything else.
okay. But so if we hire somebody else, we'll need to increase that. That's what I'm just
More than
saying.
likely, yes.
Better taxes.
Yeah,
There you go.
so it has to be.
Yeah. We currently charging us.
As we grow, we're gonna have to have more people. Yeah. Gotta have it. Gotta have, and we've gotta cover our costs, the city, I'm talking about the city taxpayer and city citizens' costs, right?
I agree.
But we did, the enforcement, do you think it'd do any good, council tell me, would it do any good for us to do like a public relation campaign? And even all of you being on some kind of media or getting a message out through the, our Shelbyville website or something saying, we're asking the folks in my ward, would you please, we want to do a citywide cleanup. If you have junk cars in your yard, would you please move them? Just try that and see what it would do. Do you think it would do any good?
Now, let me ask you this question. Do you have people
Do you
that
think
are
it do good?
truly unable to clean their yards right now?
I
You
have
have
not-
people that are at
That's what
a
I'm thinking.
disadvantage.
I have not had anybody tell me that they were unable to clean it.
Okay.
And every once in a while, we've run into somebody that we're like, that poor, little lady
Absolutely.
can't do it.
Now, we
And so
have,
that, to me, would be when a campaign would help, that you know there's folks that you could, let's go help this person.
Right.
But I don't think that's your problem right now.
no, we have
Yeah.
4 or 5 times a year had people reach out to us, hey, I can't do this or I can't
Right.
do that. Do you know who I can call?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've passed that information along.
yeah, I've had some of those calls too.
Yeah.
I was just thinking if we did that public relations thing, we could say, we don't want you to have to pay court costs, we don't want you to have to pay fees, those kind of things, so help us along. You know, it's something, if we ask, you have not because you ask not. I'll just go back to the scripture. If we ask them to do it, will people do it? I don't know.
I doubt the people that are reading or reach most of them are not in violation.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
There's no harm in trying, I suppose, if you go all the way to do that, as in conjunction with kicking off, that you all are gonna pay attention more to this. You're gonna have a reporting time during each one of your monthly meetings to update where you are on this in the process of your hiring more people. Cause you're gonna do whatever, I don't know what we call it, 2024 cleanup, I don't know, getting ready for it.
Yeah.
What if it's somebody who not a homeowner and they're renting? Could you just maybe send a letter to the homeowner?
Uh-huh.
Just leave it.
Anytime we come across that situation, both the owner and the tenant get letters.
Okay.
So they're
You have
both
to.
notified.
You have
I'm
to take
required to
notice,
notify both.
you actually take notice against the landowner.
Yeah.
And then they could, if it violates the lease, it's usually a part of a lease, is you, as the tenant, have to follow all the laws. So somebody can kick them out if they're not doing that.
This is just like when I was a kid. We run up and down Madison Street when I was a kid, wide open, baby, had a big time bumpers, make all right you make. They never touched us until one of us got caught. Once they stopped one of us and gave us a ticket, all that foolishness went away. We got no bite. This thing's got, we can sit here and talk about till dark.
There's
time,
not-
light of
there's
shell.
no- you have no sting in
If
it.
there's no bite, nobody's gonna pay. Them people will let their yard through, they're gonna park their car there and get in the yard, and it ain't going.
How can we put teeth to it?
How
How can we put teeth to the codes and making people do
It
it?
don't get to
You've
them,
got the
they're not
codes.
gonna do nothing.
You just have to get the people so that you actually are enforcing it and take it to the next step each time. But you need people, enough people in the office that can stay on top of it.
But we
You
don't,
just don't have enough people.
we don't need to pass an ordinance of something that is to
No,
add more
the law's
fees or
on there.
anything.
The laws are there. I mean, we might could increase your fee on, cleaning up, but you can't change can't change anything in municipal court. It's $50 a day. Nothing we can do about that. So that's the only thing you can do is if we mow grass.
Well, don't need to be doing what he's doing.
No, we
Like he said, get one of these boys run there, pull all these lawnmowers, they're insured, they're bonded, hook up with them and let that take care of that part of it.
But the only problem then, Bobby, is that the city very well end up paying that fee if the homeowner doesn't.
Oh, yeah, you have to. Once again, which I say over and over again, it takes money and you've got to be prepared to put the money in and you've got to be prepared that you may never get the money back.
But-
It takes money to clean up
but
the
people
city.
get paid.
We pay him, but you do a third party.
Right in front of the camera.
We have to pay that
Yeah,
third party. and you get-
They get hit it off?
Well,
Don't know.
you know, following up on the mayor's idea, we can do a public announcement and an appeal to the public. And then if certain ones do not comply and more or less tell us to go our own way, could we start a wall of shame, go the total opposite direction and expose them?
Well, exposed one, he just kind of shoved it and said, forget it.
It's
I mean,
a,
I like the velvet glove approach,
Yeah, I do too.
but maybe we need to hire
We do need more.
on standby.
It ain't getting no better. What we're doing ain't working. I don't know what, I don't have the answer, but
Is
what we're
this-
doing ain't working.
is it listed somewhere what the violations are and what you can and cannot have and how tall? If your grass is 7 inches, it's okay. 7.5.
We, once we've got Kate in place, we've been steadily developing that, so yes, that will.
So a citizen can't go somewhere and look at these things.
Although we're working on that right now. It's just.
Why
it
isn't
takes
it
time.
there?
Because I can't hold him down for 8 hours a day.
I mean, no, seriously though,
I will appreciate it.
after all this time, this should be somewhere where,
I agree,
why isn't it?
because we've got our website updated, we're trying to get all that information out there. But we have to personalize it for Shelbyville, we can't just take something from somewhere else and say it's ours. But we are trying to get all that information out there, our fence ordinances are out there, we have several different municipal codes listed out there, we've got building permit reasons out, applications out there. We're trying to get all this information together, but it takes time, and to be honest with you, we're not in the office enough to get it done.
But see, what the mayor has said, what he's theoretically saying is we're trying to do the gentleman or gentlewoman's approach and try to give the citizens an opportunity to correct it themselves
Right.
first. But if you don't give them a resource, to research and say, well, what is my violation? Am I in violation? If there's nowhere to go, what happens?
How about,
Well, if you
now,
were-
do you folks do y'all handle the housing authority properties, or is Mr. Tillman over all of that?
That is under the authority of the housing
Yeah.
authority.
And they keep that in pretty good shape. Have they got stricter rules than we have?
No, sir.
That they'll evict somebody if they don't, if
They
they,
do that.
huh?
And they do
They do all the
themselves.
grass mowing,
They
they
do
do
all their
grass
own.
mowing, it's all done internally for them. We don't do any of that,
Okay. But what I was saying is,
but that also
it
follows,
looks like they're staying pretty well, caught up, but it may be because of that threat of eviction.
No,
Or
sir, they do it themselves.
They do it
they do all the work.
What are you talking about doing?
The housing authority does it
They
themselves.
have their
They
own
don't move
maintenance
cars, if somebody's
crew.
got a car sitting there that's broke down, they don't move the car. What do
I'm
they do
talking
about it?
Mowing the grass.
Well, I'm talking about all this junk stuff we're talking about.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure that
laying
they
around
have
the housing
rules
project
that-
or junk cars parked in those
Yeah, they have
places.
rules that
Is
you
Mr.
don't
Tillman,
go
do
by
they
there.
have any different rules than
Yeah,
we
they,
have?
they got,
Oh,
They're under-
absolutely.
they're under
They got
much
strict
And
stricter
do they,
their
and
rules.
and they can evict if somebody doesn't, is
Absolutely.
that,
Well, it's just like
Yeah,
a
but you
landowner.
can't do
They're all
that.
Like a
under,
landlord, a landlord could do that if you're talking about a tenant. A landlord himself could come up and say, you've got 3 junk cars on my property, you move it in 2 days or I'm evicting you because you're in violation of your lease.
Right.
Yeah.
but the housing authority answers the HUD,
Right.
Housing and Urban Development.
Right.
They don't answer to anybody else other than.
I just wondered what their rules were different, cause I thought they
They
kept
have-
theirs, they keep theirs in pretty good shape.
They have.
Well,
Good
because
job.
they own the land.
I know they do, I know they do,
Super strict.
but, you know, we've got to do something.
Well,
Yeah,
I was
well, they've got-
gonna piggyback on Marilyn, what Marilyn was saying. If you were putting together a campaign, kind of like the mayor's talking about, then you could put together like a cheat sheet, so to speak,
Yeah,
of these are the most often violations, like the grass, the cars, and you could put together like a cheat sheet that would go with the campaign to clean up Shelbyville.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
you know, then that way we could put that on the website, whoever went on the different news places, we could put it in the newspaper. Like, these are the most often violations. If you have one of these violations, we'd appreciate you taking care of it.
And you could do it in conjunction.
Increasing our staff to start being more on top of enforcing these violations.
enforcement. I like that word too, yeah.
So everybody sees it.
Yeah, and you could do it in conjunction with one of your cleanups. So we used to have cleanups 4 times a year. How often do we have them now? Twice?
We just,
Twice a year?
this week is.
That's what I wanted to say with that, you know, by doing the cleanups, we promote people to hold all their stuff at their house until the cleanup. I think that we need to promote them to bring it up to the facilities that we have to get it out of there. You do these cleanups, and I have so many calls about this, oh, I'm just gonna save it for the next cleanup.
Right.
Well, they're saving it in their backyard next to their house and everything else, because they know twice a year, they're not gonna pay his fine. They're gonna wait it out because I'm gonna come around and pick it up twice a year. That's part of the problem.
So we need to put that on that list, at least he's talking about, if we do a campaign like that, that you need to, we would ask you to take any of that refuge or whatever you've got to our.
Let them know where they can
That's
take it.
exactly right.
Get it
Where you can
disposed of.
take it and the hours of operation and ask them to do that.
Is that the city dump?
That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
Get it clean.
Yeah.
It's clean,
Yeah.
we did it before.
But there is a fee associated with that.
right,
Right now, to bring it up, it's $8.50 a cubic yard.
okay.
At that, with those dumpsters that we have up there, we lose $80,000 a year with what it costs us to do. Because we provide that as a service to try to keep the city clean.
Right,
It's not working to keep the city clean, and we're still losing money on top of that. So by hiring 6 more employees or whatever it's gonna be, 80,000 of that can come from that if we wanna change rates or if we wanna do things like that. Or I know the county has areas where people can take trash. I don't know why we're doing household trash plus the other stuff.
right. Furniture and all that kind of.
Yeah, to where there's convenience centers that they can take it to the county. Right now, we have those up there. It doesn't seem to be working. People aren't cleaning. They don't wanna pay the $8.50 per cubic yard, and then they're saving for the cleanups.
I-
But
If it's cold
everybody
out,
in the
I-
city is in the
I see
county,
that.
so they can take them to the county convenience centers free of charge.
Part of the problem, if it's cold out, this week has been cleanup. People haven't put that much out. They put a lot out, but not that
But it's
much,
been
not
too
what we're used to.
cold.
But when it's warm out and we have that cleanup, you see, if you was to drive through Shelbyville that week and you wanted to see what Shelbyville was about, you would see mountains of trash next to the road, all of it. I don't know why we promote that. So we want to clean up the town, but yet we're promoting, put all your junk out next to the road.
And we'll pick it up.
Yeah. I don't mind people bringing it, you know, a cleanup, this is the first community I've ever been in where you went house to house to clean it up. What we did in other communities is we gave them a spot where the dumpsters were, you brought the stuff up there, you put it in the dumpster, and when they're full, they're full. That's it, we didn't have trucks out doing that because we did not want trash on our streets,
Sure,
because you can't get it all.
right.
And the way some people put it out there, there's litter blowing around because of all this.
Oh, yeah. We've got it today.
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, the one-armed truck is picking those garbage cans up, but people are not putting the trash in the bags like they're supposed to in that. And so when that thing dumps, If they got any loose stuff, it's flying everywhere. It was all over Union Street when I came in a while ago. It was in, Garden Gate subdivision where I live, and the garbage cans are out in the street, or,
Yeah,
all kinds of different things, yeah.
but that's the whole thing, is these cleanups, I think it's a great thing that we do for the community, but I think we're promoting having trash on our streets. I
So
really do.
Is that your recommendation that the city just cease doing that?
I think we find a different way. If we're trying to clean up the city,
Not that.
I think if you're trying to clean up the city, I think there's gotta be alternatives versus taking all your junk to the side of the road. That's what I think.
You have a good point.
What'd you say, Scott?
Definitely need to weigh the pros and cons on that.
Yeah, okay,
'Cause
okay, okay.
I need you tomorrow. I don't have a truck, so I'm gonna have to wait stuff.
Well, I see,
You don't want them to stop it today, huh?
I see some good things that's come out of the meeting so far. The form, I think, is number one. I think that there needs to be a form of when we got the notification, who went out there, what was the violation and those kind of things, and then what is the follow-up? I think we need to do that, no doubt about
If I
it.
may interrupt on that,
Sir?
if I may interrupt on that, please.
Yes.
I've seen that form. I think it's a great form to use.
Okay,
However, January 1st, we're going to start our new software. It will
Okay.
already be collecting that information.
okay, good.
But it'll be where if a council member,
Yeah,
vice
it'll
mayor,
be open to
calls,
everybody.
and
So
you
can
can
we,
tell them what the last action taken on what date
That's correct.
and what's next.
Yep.
That's what y'all are wanting.
Yep.
Yes. And most of the time I go right to Scott. If folks are calling me, I go to Scott and I'm sure Scott will report it. So, is that all right with you?
Oh, absolutely.
We can just keep dumping on you now.
Uh,
The other thing I would like to do a public, and I'll work on that. I'll work on it with Scott and some other, putting that together where we can address the city and ask folks to do these things that we're asking for. As far as what Buck's talking about, we'll work with the city manager and the city council on whether we want to stop doing that twice a year and ask people to take it to.
We provide a place, and whether it be one single place, we could have a place in each ward.
yeah, you get multiple.
Yes, but for us to go out and, there's no roads, there's no ditches, there's nothing getting done for my department the week of cleanup week. So if anything, everybody calls, needs something, yeah, it's not gonna happen this week because everybody, all hands on deck to make sure that we're able to get it picked up in a week.
Okay, so we've addressed trash and grass. All right, now, vehicles.
Wait a minute. Excuse me.
Go ahead, Marilyn, please.
Here we go, something.
Well, I think we're all spoiled. And as much as Buck wants to eliminate his 2 things a year, I think you're gonna see that people are so spoiled, they'd rather see 4 of them a year. They will pay extra for you to come pick it up, rather than haul it to them.
If
We charge them.
we don't charge them.
I know, but if we charge them.
If there was a solid waste fee, that I
Bingo.
feel would be our duty
There you
to
go.
do that.
Yeah,
But there is no solid waste fee, so we're just taking money out of the general fund.
yes, right.
And not out of what the service that we provide for
Well,
that.
then you have to, not only do you have to spend all that time picking it up, but then you gotta spend all that time getting rid of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get in
And
people's
money.
pockets, they'll do things.
if you do a solid waste fee, then I believe the city has more responsibility to do it.
If we make sanitation an enterprise fund where it was self-supporting,
Uh-huh.
you all would have more opportunities to do stuff with the general. fund.
Absolutely.
To move the city forward,
Absolutely.
like I know all of you want to do.
Because it'd be a user fee. The only people that would pay it is the people who use it.
Right. Okay. All right, what do we can do about the cars and things like that?
Move them.
If you get a call about that, Brian, you fill out a form and go out there and just see if the car got a tag out of date, and if it's got flat tires, if it's parked on the grass, all those kind of different things,
We
and then,
investigate it, send a violation if there is a violation present, and then move forward to municipal court unless the issue is abated.
okay.
Would you tell us what the exact tell us what the law says on how many you can have?
How many vehicles you can have?
Yeah, the vehicle, non-tagged, and what is it again?
Our municipal code says you cannot have an unlicensed vehicle or inoperable vehicle,
Okay, making certain.
but there's no limit on the number of them.
You can't have one sitting
Car,
on the
Scott,
grass either.
Scott's got, you still got them stickers like we talked about?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you actually
Those
put
are covered.
stickers on stuff that's in violation?
If it's deemed abandoned, if it's deemed abandoned, I can put a sticker on it.
Or, I mean, like, somebody leaves a refrigerator on their front porch.
We can do door tags if you'd like. These dogs
I mean,
have.
well, about 15 years ago, for instance, about 15 years ago, we had one codes inspector. And I had a rental house behind Southside School, and I was putting a new floor down. I rolled the refrigerator out on the front porch and left it overnight. Next day, there's a damn big. So if you're in violation, you gotta move it. Well, I got a little ill about it, but I'm moving it. But it definitely happened now.
The system was better.
Back then.
If I may ask this, you had given us some reasons, tags and inoperable and those kind of things for a vehicle. If it's parked on, and I'm getting some calls on this, if they park it in the grass, not on a gravel driveway or not on a paved driveway, aren't they in violation of code?
Yes, and we will send the same thing. We'll go out and investigate it.
Well,
send
that's
it
what
over
I
to
thought.
violation.
That's what I
No, we
thought,
do not put
okay.
stickers on them.
Even if the car is tagged right and all that stuff, but if it's parked in the grass, that's what I thought.
But
I
it's the
thought that's
same
part of code.
process, you send
It's
the
the same
letter, you
process.
wait 10 days, so like if I parked it in the grass today,
We do on abandoned vehicles.
cause I was visiting, and then tomorrow it's over here,
That's what I've been telling people, get it out of the grass. If it operates, get it out of the grass.
Move mine around all
The reason I asked that is if you went out to my neighbor's house this morning, you could put a sticker on his race car, his club car trailer, his car, they're all parked in the front yard. They're not getting attention to move them back there with all the junks in the backyard.
Yeah, he's been a delight to work with.
The more people we can handle
The
that.
problem is his mother's 99 years old, we're getting solid remains, so I don't want to.
I've already got that.
We can't get the repo man to back up.
Afraid not,
All right, what,
not without giving them notice and process.
When you go to the town, have the repo man sitting right there in the street waiting.
what else have we not addressed on the codes and stuff?
I have, going back to the inspections, the home inspections, is there not somewhere that you can get that turnkey ready person to go right in to do what you do? Because, well, where are they? I mean, you're training, they're going through a process right now, and you said you've got to be with them. for all
you're
of
talking
this.
about somebody that's already a certain.
Yeah.
building.
If it's already certified, then that's not an issue.
Yeah,
They
but they
find
don't,
those?
They're making $120,000 anyway.
We had 17 applications this last time. Out of all of those, one was a licensed plumber. 2 was fully certified building inspectors, and as far as residential building inspections go, both of them would not return a phone call. Because we offered about 40,000 less than they're currently making.
We don't have no more money to offer?
We learning.
We don't have any more money to offer?
You budgeted,
Well, from listening to everything, I think we need to look at increasing fees. If we're gonna have to hire people, and the people gotta realize that, as we grow, we're either gonna have to increase the permit fees or those kind of things to take care of that. I think that's justified.
Yep.
I agree.
I think it's justified. And we have to explain that to the people, that that's the reason we've had to do that. It's because we need more codes inspectors and those kind of things. What else can we think of anything else, right, that we need to discuss in there? And the form you've already got, that's gonna take place and you'll put it on software in January?
Well, that form will be obsolete January.
Okay,
The software we have incoming,
okay.
but you'll use it in a meeting.
but it's the same, we'll use it in the meantime, but the software we're gonna use has that same information
Replace that.
and more.
Okay. And we'll work on, is it all right with the council, we'll work on some kind of public relations thing to say, public announcement about what we can do. And then we need to probably have some newspaper things to say about taking the refuge to, and tell exactly where it is and the hours of operation and those kind of things. And maybe remind people again to put their garbage in garbage bags when they put it in those containers. I know that's probably been done before, but we'll tell them again.
We hand out flyers every time we come across one. Drivers keep track of the address, my sanitation officer goes, gives them a flyer, gives them the rules, and you know, eventually, we're gonna just have to start cutting people off the trash service because they're not following the rules. It's gotten a lot better with the overfilling. You still have, some people do it, but for the most part, I think 90% of the people, it's looking pretty good out there. But there's some
That's
that
because
just
you
won't.
stop
do it.
picking them up.
And I've had,
That's what happened.
and
You
after
stop
you
picking
told me that, and I knew you weren't doing it, then when people would call me, they didn't pick up my trash today, I said, was it the lid up on it? Was it overfilled? That's the reason they didn't.
Yep.
And they said, oh,
They
Well,
don't
yeah.
understand if it's overfilled and they pick it up, then
Oh,
they
let's
dump
go.
all that out
Yeah.
and look in the yard, then
Yeah.
somebody's gonna be mad about that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're mad because we don't get out of the truck to go pick up what they did wrong.
right, right. Anything else we need to discuss in this?
One issue that pops to mind.
Okay.
Do we still go around and pick up, if somebody basically empties out a rental house of stuff and dumps it in the front yard, charge the city, says, oh, I'll pay you guys $25 to come pick it up?
Yeah, we have the truck, depending on the size of the load, what truck that we have to take. Right now, for businesses, we just changed our rate based on the cubic yards.
Okay,
And I think that we're gonna go with the cubic yards on the other, it's consistent with what we've done, but for $50 or $100, yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
that's what I was gonna say, if we get into the fee.
But we also,
We need to change that.
we also, when people first move in and everything else, you know, we provide the service, we go and pick up the boxes and everything else.
Right.
If they call and they let us know, so we try on our end to be able to keep everything, you know, clean and not being stored in people's backyard.
and is that covering costs, do you think? What you're charging right now?
No,
We need to look at whatever we need to do to increase that.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
We need to cover costs.
We need to charge people that use the services.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think you've got some people that, of course, a business that owns lots of rental houses, decide it's a lot easier to just haul it out in the
Uh-huh.
street
Yeah.
and dump it out and tell the city to come get it rather than take responsibility of themselves
Yeah.
and haul it off. So it needs to get to a cost basis for them to where they can have their own crews haul it off.
Yeah.
Commercial,
Department heads, if you've got extra cost and things involved in what services we're providing, we need to get that to Scott, and then we need to increase that. Will y'all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, to cover it.
I'll have you something, I'll try to get by this one, but because we need to increase by 5 times what we're charging out at Burn Pit right now.
Okay. Brian, can you think of anything that you needed to tell us anymore? Any more on your slides? Did you need to go through the rest of those? I mean, you put them all together and everything. Are you having threats at all when you're trying to, I mean, I'm talking about physical threats. I know people are talking to me on the telephone sometime and they don't get ugly because they do. I tell them, hey, we don't.
I have had people tell me they'd be more than happy to take me out in the street and give me a good thrashing. I've been told, hey, I got no problem shooting you in the face right now.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, I've probably been told it.
That's not a good job.
And we want you to do your job, but we don't want you to have to take all of that kind of.
No, you need to look at, I think that.
Yeah, we'll back you up on that. Yeah, just walk away and we'll call the police department. That's
That's
right.
how
That's
it's
exactly.
done.
All right, anything else?
Unless you have anything for me.
Anybody else got anything to say? All right, Waleed. Brian, you can have a seat. You've been standing this whole time. Thank you, Brian. Waleed.
Hey, man, I just would like to weigh in on what's going on. I know you guys are not involved in what we do. The last thing you mentioned was about people coming in. I have to tell you, part of the job that we do, a lot of emotional things. So please just take this into account. It's not like a mechanical job. Hey, this is your citation. It doesn't work this way. If we start doing it this way, I can guarantee you we'll have more issues. Like, we are here, the previous building, Debbie is here, the lady was here. I can only tell you what we hear every day. Whenever you tell anybody, hey, we need to work with you, they get emotional. Some of them are really loud, some are shouting. I can tell you just last week how many folks came in that were so furious for stuff that they should have done. So this is one aspect. Another one, when I came in here, Brian, the old building, I told him, hey, Brian, I don't see much of you, what's going on? So he told me, you know what, we should go and I would like you to see what I do. So we went for about 4 inspections. Usually he does like 6 or 5 for each house. I can only tell you how time consuming it is. Like one of them took an hour and a half, another one was about 2 hours. Sometimes the folks don't show up, like basically he has to meet them on site. So he has to go back and see what's going on. And this is just for one house. I multiply this by 5 or 6. I don't know how many hours that would be. And as far as I know, he's the only guy who's doing it because the other folks now and before don't have the certificate. So multiply this like the 6 times by 2 hours each. How many houses were issued last year? I'm only talking about the housing because there are also industrial and commercial components. I can tell you because I talked to the folks in Tullahoma, last year they only had 21 new homes. Over here, we had like 1,200 approved. I don't know how many were built. And we are getting 40. So, okay. So, and also we are getting like 950 new homes being applied for in this site in 2 weeks.
Right.
You can only imagine how time consuming it is. That's why, and again, I'm not defending anyone, I'm just telling you what I know. So what's going on now, he doesn't have any time to sit down and work with any system.
Right.
That's very clear to all of you and to us, and I know why. He is just not able to have time to do it. To have a system, it's not about going in your office and writing the steps. You have to deal with the applicant, you have to get everybody on board, you have to know how to actually implement it, how it's gonna function. You remember the chaos that I was in when I came here, there was no system, that's why it was so chaotic. If you recall, you were in the council, so much going on and no clue how to do it because which one is a priority? Which one are you gonna do? Another thing that I know Brian needs to actually work on is now the expectation from any builder. Once they start doing the steps of building a house, they give him a call and say, hey, can you come now to inspect it? That's something I have never seen, and I have been in 5 different communities. It doesn't work this way.
No.
And if he tells anyone, hey, I have already the schedule, they get really angry. And the folks are very entitled, I'm sorry to say, but they are all entitled. They will tell you, and I could hear what the discussion is, I'm losing money, buddy, you need to come in. And again, it was built, it's something that actually evolved over the years. And the home builders here feel that if you do anything otherwise, you are taking away from what they are actually have the right to. It doesn't work this way, especially with the number of homes.
We've just outgrown that.
Yeah.
We've outgrown it.
Yeah,
We can't do that anymore.
That's right.
And I know maybe Brian, and correct me if I'm mistaken, he might be hesitant to tell the folks this because I'm sure if he started having a system, hey, you need to apply, it will be in a week or so, you are gonna get tons of phone calls.
Yeah.
People complaining about whatever Brian is doing.
Yeah.
So I feel that,
To give a little bit more than that, we're probably one of the for municipalities that if you called in today, I come out doing inspection tomorrow. Most of them, if you call in today,
Didn't work that one.
they'll see you next week.
That's right.
Right.
Usually it's 3 to 5 days later.
Mhm.
And some of the larger municipalities, you're looking at 3 and 4 week lead times. That's how much lead time they need to do an inspection. On a residential home, that doesn't include commercial and industrial. Commercial is much farther out. To give you a prime example, if people wanting it now, I took a phone call yesterday to do an inspection on a footer for a new business coming here. And they asked me to come out first thing this morning. I said, I'm sorry, I'm in meetings up until about 1:30. I'll be out sometime between 2 and 4. That's not good enough. Who do I need to call? Well, you can call a third-party inspector if you'd like. Well, I take a month to get somebody here. I'll see you between 2 and 4. That's the best I can do. The answer to that was, well, how much is it gonna cost me to get you out there first thing in the morning? Yes, sir, I'm in meetings from 8:30. Yes, sir. I can see you between 2 and 4.
Yeah, and like Ginger said, we have outgrown, there's a lot of things that I'm finding out have been, that we need to work on, and cost is one thing because of the growth and all that, time and employees, the number of employees we need and those kind of things. And I have no problem, somebody calls you and says, you gotta have it right now. No, they'll have to get on the schedule. And I know they will not be happy. I've heard from some of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that some of the council members are probably hearing from them and they're not happy about it. But you just do the best you can and make sure you justify it. That's all. When I was an inspector with Duck River Electric, I had to justify to my boss, why couldn't you go out there at 1 o'clock last week? Because I had customer A, B, and C, I was out there. And I'd already had them scheduled. So as long as you can justify, I have no problem.
When we leave here, I have 8 inspections due this afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's another thing, if you want to know in terms of what you all can do, in terms of a campaign and helping.
Right. And
One of the other things is when you're making these changes is to communicate that well to
Sure,
the city.
absolutely.
So they know that those are changes, because they'll adjust.
Yeah.
But you all have to be a united front, and when they call you, don't say, well, let me see what I can do. Just say, sorry, it'll be 5 days before we can get to you. You don't try to save the situation. You back up your employees on that.
Yeah.
And you say, this is a change and y'all are gonna have to get used to it. And we tell those people up front, that's the way this is gonna change.
And that
But that-
PR is one of the things we
Yeah.
need to do. And if we need to sit down with Waleed or Brian or Buck on Shelbyville Now or wherever we've got, if Marilyn can do a video for us or something, that we say, this is a change.
Yeah.
We've got so many things that we're inspecting right now. And if we can't get to you right now, we get to you as quickly as we can. But if you call in, it may be 5 days, it may be whatever, but we'll schedule as soon as we can. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
We need to get that word out so that people are ready for it.
Well, quite frankly, Brian actually needs some balance time within his office, that those hours, he's not gonna go out.
That's
He
right.
can't get
You've
any,
got to be doing
he
working.
doesn't need to be at the beck and call.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
He just shouldn't be.
And none of us can be that way. I can't be that way, and these council members can't be that way. So, okay. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
What we change or whatever, just as long as we have your guys' backing, why we're following the rules that you guys set forth to us, because the problems that we run into is people are calling you and they're giving their side of the story
Yes.
instead of looking at the rule and seeing what the rule says.
Yes.
All we're gonna do, what we're charged with in our job is to follow the rules that you guys have provided.
Yeah.
All we ask is that when you get those phone calls, please contact us and at least hear from our side exactly what happened. And then that way, if we feel that we have your backing, it gives us a little bit more confidence to go out there and do what we need to do.
And I hope you found that with me, and I'm sure the council members are doing the same thing, but I'll call you, you know that, when something happens, and Brian, I'll contact you, so, and Waleed, same thing.
That's
Go
why
ahead.
kind of I asked, where are those rules and violations? The ordinances that we can easily, readily get to.
They're,
I mean,
They're not
do we
built
have?
right.
they're on the website,
Yeah, they're on the website, yes.
municipal code.
Okay, okay.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Brian, thank you for standing up so long. Appreciate it. Oh, did we get anything accomplished?
Make it up.
Y'all hire more people?
More people.
I think that's it.
The system, everybody understands the system.
Just say it.
Marilyn?
Yes.
You satisfied? We get something
Yes.
accomplished?
Yes, I'll get that, I will get
Okay, all right, excuse me.
I will do a video and recording.
Well, we'd be glad to do it. And we'll get with Brian and Waleed and Buck, and so they can be sitting there.
Radio on Saturday.
And the council, they have not said me, that's fine.
Yeah.
Scott in there with us, that's fine.
But I'm gonna schedule you very quickly. in the
That'd be
next-
great,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Don't you think that'd be a good idea?
Court history, I'm on the landscaping, had before.